She made a young man cry while sipping her wine, and the smile on her face told me everything I needed to know. His name was Marcus, 23 years old, saving every tip for his sister's college tuition. Veronica Hills got him fired because his shadow, not his hand, his actual shadow, fell across her table. For 10 years, Veronica Hills had been the terror of Pineapple and Pearls, wife of billionaire Ethan Hills, the tech mogul who owned half of DC. His money built empires, but Veronica built something darker, a kingdom of fear. Every Friday at 7:30, she'd arrive like a storm, and everyone would freeze. Nobody challenged her. Nobody dared. Until me. I'm Leah Morgan, and 3 months ago my life shattered. I'd been a research analyst at Investigative Group International, one of DC's most respected firms. The kind of job you dream about since college. I was good at it too. Really good. Finding patterns others missed, connecting impossible dots, exposing corruption that actually mattered. Then the firm lost its biggest client. Budget cuts, they said. 23 people gone in one afternoon. I was one of them. 2 weeks later, I lost my apartment. DC Rent doesn't care about your dreams or your resume. That's how I ended up at Pineapple and Pearls, wearing a stiff uniform that felt like someone else's life, trying to remember which side to serve the bread from. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button right now. What I'm about to share isn't just my story. It's about what happens when ordinary people find extraordinary courage. Drop a comment. Have you ever stood up to someone powerful? Where are you watching from? Let's build this community together. My first night, a waiter named Raymond pulled me aside. See that corner booth? He pointed to table 12, burgundy velvet, perfect view of the entire restaurant. That's her throne. Her. Veronica Hills. He said her name like it hurt. Ethan Hills' wife. You know him, right? Everyone knew Ethan Hills. Magazine covers, tech billionaire, changing the world with artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. His wife is our nightmare, Raymond continued, voice barely above a whisper. One tiny mistake and she'll have you fired. She'll watch you pack your things and smile. Like she enjoys it. My stomach twisted. That bad. Last month, she got a waiter fired for standing too close to her table. Said his presence was contaminating her experience. He had to move back to Ohio. She blacklisted him everywhere in DC. That's evil. That's Veronica Hills. He squeezed my shoulder. Stay out of her way. Don't make eye contact. Don't try to be friendly. Just survive. That Friday, I finally understood. Veronica moved through the entrance like she owned the entire block. Midnight blue dress, diamonds at her throat, excessive, intentional. But her eyes stopped me cold. Ice blue, sharp as knives, sweeping the room while people flinched. Her husband Ethan walked beside her, tall, distinguished, exhausted. Not physically tired. Soul tired. Like he'd been holding his breath for years. I was assigned near their section. Close enough to hear everything. Veronica sent back champagne because the bubbles were aggressive. Complained the lighting made Ethan look old. Said it right in front of him. Critiqued the hostess's posture, the sommelier's accent, everything. Every word was a test, a reminder of her power. Then Marcus appeared. He was serving the next table, careful and professional. As he placed a dessert down, his shadow fell across Veronica's bread plate for half a second. He didn't touch anything, didn't breathe wrong. But Veronica recoiled like he'd tried to poison her. Excuse me. 2 words. The entire restaurant went silent. Marcus froze, face draining of color. Yes, Mrs. Hills? Your shadow touched my plate. My food has been contaminated by your presence. I watched from 10 feet away, gripping my tray until my knuckles went white. The rational part of my brain screamed this was insane. But I recognized something in Marcus's eyes. Helplessness, terror, the knowledge that his life was about to change. And something inside me shifted. Here's what I realized. When you've already lost everything, there's nothing left to lose. I'd lost my career at Investigative Group International. My home. My identity. What else could Veronica take? My dignity was already packed in a box. So when the manager approached Marcus, when tears formed in that young man's eyes, when Veronica said, I want him removed immediately, something clicked. I set down my tray, smoothed my apron, and walked straight toward table 12. Raymond tried to stop me. Leah, don't. But I was already moving. Veronica looked up. Those ice blue eyes locked onto mine. Can I help you? Her voice could cut glass. I smiled. Not nervous. not submissive, a knowing smile. Because in that moment, I recognized something my years at Investigative Group International taught me to spot. Veronica Hills wasn't powerful. She was terrified. And terrified people make mistakes. I know you're hooked, but I need to know you're with me. What happens next? What I discovered, what I said to her, how her perfect mask shattered. It's going to change how you see power forever. Subscribe now. Comment below what would you have done in my position. Be honest. Because courage isn't something you have. It's something you choose. And the moment I chose, you're not ready for what comes next. I stood there, 3 feet from table 12, and time seemed to stretch. Veronica's ice blue eyes studied me like I was an insect she was deciding whether to crush. I asked you a question, she said, her voice dropping lower. Can I help you? But before I could respond, the manager swooped in, practically shoving me aside. Mrs. Hills, please accept our deepest apologies. This won't happen again. I was pulled away, Raymond gripping my arm so tight it hurt. What were you thinking? He hissed as we reached the kitchen. I wasn't thinking. That was the problem. Or maybe that was the solution. Over the next 2 weeks, I learned exactly who Veronica Hills was. And trust me, the stories I heard made that first night look tame. During our break one evening, the staff gathered in the back room like survivors sharing war stories. That's when I truly understood the depth of Veronica's cruelty. She got my cousin fired from the Hay Adams. Maria, one of the hostesses, told me. Her hands shook as she spoke. My cousin had worked there for 6 years. 6 years. Veronica complained that she smiled too much. Said it was distracting and unprofessional. One complaint, and she was gone. Couldn't find work at any decent hotel in the city after that. She ruined my friend's catering business. Another server named Josh added. He catered one of her charity events. Everything was perfect. I mean, the food was incredible. But she told everyone the shrimp tasted pedestrian. Posted about it on social media. Told all her wealthy friends to avoid him. His business went under in 6 months. The stories kept coming. A sommelier fired for pronouncing a French wine region with an American accent. A chef blacklisted for serving her salmon that was aggressively pink. A valet who lost his job because he smiled at her. Apparently, eye contact from service staff was presumptuous. Why does she do it? I asked. What does she get out of destroying people? Raymond leaned back, his eyes distant. Power. Control. When you're that rich, that untouchable, I guess making people afraid is the only thing that makes you feel alive. Table 12, Maria whispered, like speaking the number too loud would summon Veronica herself. That's her throne. Every Friday, 7:30 sharp. We call it the Golden Booth because it costs us gold to serve her. Our dignity, our peace of mind, sometimes our jobs. I looked at the fear in their faces. These were good people, hard-working people, and they'd been broken by one woman's need to feel superior. Something hardened inside me that night. I'd spent 3 months feeling powerless, watching my life crumble, unable to stop it. At Investigative Group International, I'd exposed corrupt politicians, fraudulent corporations, people who thought they were untouchable. And here I was polishing silverware, letting a bully terrorize good people. No, I'd lost enough. My career, my apartment, my confidence. But I wasn't going to lose my spine. Veronica Hills had spent 10 years building her empire of fear. But empires fall. I'd seen it happen before. And I was trained to find the cracks. So here's what I need you to understand. Sometimes standing up to evil isn't about being fearless. It's about being more afraid of staying silent. And as I tied my apron the next Friday, waiting for Veronica to arrive, I made myself a promise. She wasn't going to break me. If this story is hitting you where it hurts, if you're feeling that fire building in your chest, I need you to subscribe right now. Because what I'm about to do next, it's going to change everything. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever watched someone abuse their power and wished you could do something about it? Because I was about to do something about it, and there was no going back. 3 weeks into my time at Pineapple and Pearls, I witnessed something that changed everything. It was a Friday night. Of course it was. Veronica's night. The restaurant hummed with that particular tension that only her presence could create. Everyone moved a little slower, a little more carefully, like we were all walking on glass. A new waiter named Tom was working his second week. Sweet kid, maybe 21, with nervous hands and an eager-to-please smile. He reminded me of Marcus, which made my chest tight every time I looked at him. Tom was assigned to the section beside table 12. I watched him check his uniform 3 times, practice his greeting in whispered breaths. He was terrified, and he had every right to be. Everything was fine for the first hour. Tom moved like a ghost, practically invisible, which was exactly how you survived Veronica Hills. But then came the moment that would haunt me for weeks. He was serving the table directly next to hers, an older couple celebrating their anniversary. As he leaned forward to refill the woman's water glass, his sleeve, just the fabric of his sleeve, passed within inches of Veronica's side plate. Not touching it, not even close to touching it. But it was enough. Veronica's fork clattered onto her plate. The sound cut through the restaurant like a gunshot. "Excuse me." Her voice was ice. "Young man." Tom turned, and I watched the color drain from his face. "Yes, ma'am. Did you just contaminate my plate with your uniform?" I didn't touch. Your sleeve was over my food." She stood up, and the entire restaurant fell silent. "Over my food. Do you understand what you've done? I could get sick. I could die from whatever bacteria you're carrying." It was insane. Completely, utterly insane. His sleeve hadn't even been close enough to cast a shadow. But nobody said anything. Not the other customers. Not the manager who came rushing over. Nobody. "Mrs. Hills, I'm so sorry," the manager stammered. "We'll comp your entire meal, of course, and I want him fired. Now." Tom's eyes went wide. "Please, I need this job. I'm paying for my mom's medical bills. I don't care." Veronica sat back down, smoothing her napkin like she'd just swatted a fly. "I will not dine in an establishment that employs people who endanger my health." I watched Tom's face crumble. Watched him try to hold back tears as the manager escorted him toward the kitchen. Watched Veronica pick up her fork and continue eating like she'd done nothing more significant than order dessert. And something inside me ignited. Not anger. That's too simple. This was fury mixed with disgust, mixed with a clarity so sharp it hurt. I'd spent 3 months feeling powerless. But watching Tom's humiliation, I realized something. Veronica's power only existed because we all agreed to let it exist. Every time someone stayed silent, every time someone looked away, every time someone chose their paycheck over their dignity, we fed her power. We built her throne. Well, I was done building. From that night forward, I became a student of Veronica Hills. I watched her like I used to watch corrupt politicians at Investigative Group International. I took mental notes of everything. The way she spoke differently to men than women, how she always complained about the same things but in different words, how her eyes would flicker with something that looked like fear whenever someone met her gaze directly. I cataloged her patterns, her tells, her weaknesses. Because Veronica Hills had a secret. I could feel it. People who needed this much control, who demanded this much fear, they were always hiding something. And I was going to find out what. Listen to me carefully. Evil doesn't win because it's strong. Evil wins because good people are too afraid to fight back. I'd been afraid for 3 months. Afraid of losing my job, afraid of making things worse, afraid of becoming another cautionary tale. But watching Tom walk out of that restaurant with his head down, his dreams crushed by a woman who did it for sport, that fear transformed into something else entirely. Purpose. If you're still with me, if you feel what I felt that night, then subscribe right now. Because what I discovered about Veronica Hills, it's going to blow your mind. Comment below, what would you sacrifice to stand up for what's right? Because I was about to sacrifice everything. And the truth I uncovered? It was darker than anyone imagined. The thing about observing people is that once you start really looking, you can't unsee the truth. For 2 weeks, I studied Veronica Hills like she was a case file. And slowly, carefully, the perfect mask began to crack. It started with small things. The way her hand trembled, just slightly, when a customer at the next table ordered the same wine she'd ordered. How her smile would freeze when someone complimented her husband, but not her. The flash of panic in her eyes whenever someone new entered the restaurant, like she was constantly afraid of being recognized by the wrong person. Veronica Hills wasn't confident. She was terrified. But terrified of what? The answer came on a Tuesday night during the dinner rush. I was refilling water pitchers near the kitchen when I overheard Maria and an older server named Patricia talking in hushed voices. "I still can't believe she has the nerve to show her face in public," Patricia said, shaking her head. "It's been almost 15 years, Maria replied. "Most people have forgotten. I haven't. I was working at that fashion show when it all went down. Veronica Castellano. That was her name back then. She was this young, hungry designer, supposed to be the next big thing. My ears perked up. Veronica Castellano? What happened? Maria asked. Patricia leaned in closer. She stole designs. From another designer, Elena Russo. Elena was her mentor, taught her everything. Then Veronica took Elena's entire spring collection, claimed it as her own, and showed it at New York Fashion Week. I froze, my hand gripping the water pitcher so hard my knuckles turned white. Elena exposed her in front of everyone, Patricia continued. Had receipts, sketches, everything. Veronica's career was over in one night. She disappeared from the fashion world completely. Next thing anyone knew, she'd married Ethan Hills and reinvented herself as this perfect society wife. Maria gasped. So all this, the cruelty, the power trips. It's all a mask. She's terrified someone will remember who she really is. Veronica Hills, the billionaire's wife, is just a character she's playing. Deep down, she's still Veronica Castellano, the girl who got caught stealing and lost everything. They walked away, but I stood there, my mind racing. Suddenly, everything made sense. The way Veronica controlled every detail of her image. Her obsession with perfection. Her need to make everyone around her feel small. Because if they were looking down, they wouldn't look too closely at her. She wasn't powerful. She was hiding. Over the next few days, I watched Veronica with new eyes. And once I knew what to look for, the cracks in her facade became impossible to miss. She only wore certain designers. Never anyone connected to her past. She flinched whenever someone mentioned New York Fashion Week. She changed the subject immediately if anyone brought up her life before Ethan. Veronica Hills had spent 15 years running from her past, building walls of cruelty and fear to keep people from getting close enough to see the truth. But here's what she didn't understand. I was trained to find the truth. At Investigative Group International, I'd exposed people who'd spent decades hiding their secrets. Veronica's walls were high, but they weren't impenetrable. And the irony wasn't lost on me. She'd built her entire life on stolen designs, stolen identity, stolen confidence. And now she was destroying people's lives to protect that lie. I thought about Tom, about Marcus, about all the lives she'd ruined. All because she was afraid of being exposed. Well, she should be afraid. Because I'd found her secret. And secrets have a way of coming to light when you least expect them. Here's the truth that changed everything. The cruelest people are often the most broken inside. That doesn't excuse what they do. It doesn't make it right. But it does make them human. And humans make mistakes. Veronica Hills had made plenty of mistakes. She just didn't know I'd found them yet. If this is getting real for you, if you're seeing the layers I'm uncovering, drop a comment below. Have you ever discovered someone's secret? Did you use it or keep it? Because I was about to use mine. And what happened next? It shook Veronica Hills to her core. It happened 3 weeks after I uncovered Veronica's secret. Friday night, 7:30, like clockwork. Veronica swept into Pineapple and Pearls wearing a white dress that probably cost more than my old annual salary. She took her throne at table 12, and the familiar wave of tension rolled through the restaurant. I was ready. Everything was fine until dessert service. Raymond was carefully placing a chocolate souffle in front of Veronica when a tiny, and I mean microscopic, drop of raspberry coulis landed on the edge of her bread plate. Not on her dress. Not on the table. On a plate that had already been used. Veronica's eyes locked onto that single drop like it was a bloodstain. Are you kidding me? Her voice cut through the restaurant. Do you see this? This is unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. Raymond's face went pale. Mrs. Hills, I'm so sorry, let me. Sorry. She stood up, her voice rising. You've ruined my entire evening. This is disgraceful. I want to speak to the manager immediately. And I want you fired. The restaurant fell silent. Every eye turned toward table 12. I watched Raymond's hands shake, watched him start to apologize again, watched the familiar dance of humiliation begin. And something inside me snapped. I set down my tray and walked straight to table 12. My heart was hammering, but my hands were steady. Mrs. Hills, I said, my voice calm and clear. That won't be necessary. She turned to me, those ice blue eyes narrowing. Excuse me? Who are you? I'm Leah, and I think we need to talk about what's really happening here. The air seemed to freeze. Ethan Hills looked up from his plate, surprised. The manager started toward us, but I held up my hand. You want Raymond fired because a drop of sauce, smaller than a dime, landed on an already used plate? I kept my voice conversational, but loud enough for nearby tables to hear. That seems a bit extreme, doesn't it? Veronica's face flushed. How dare you? No, how dare you? I took a step closer. For 10 years, you've terrorized the staff here. You've gotten good people fired over nothing. Over shadows. Over smiles. Over existing in your presence. And everyone stays quiet because you're rich and powerful and married to Ethan Hills. Gasps rippled through the restaurant. Ethan's eyes widened. But here's what I know, Mrs. Hills. Or should I say, Ms. Castellano? The color drained from her face. Bullseye. That's right. I know about New York Fashion Week. I know about Elena Russo. I know about the stolen designs and how you had to run away and reinvent yourself. Veronica's mouth opened, but no sound came out. For the first time in 10 years, she had nothing to say. You built this entire life on a lie. I continued, my voice steady. And you've spent 15 years making everyone around you feel small because you're terrified someone will remember who you really are. Well, guess what? I remember. And I'm done watching you destroy people to protect your secret. The silence in the restaurant was deafening. Customers stared. Staff members stood frozen. Even Ethan looked at his wife like he was seeing her for the first time. Veronica's hands trembled. Her perfect composure cracked. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? I tilted my head. Then why do you look so scared right now? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing. The woman who'd terrorized an entire restaurant for a decade couldn't form a single word. Raymond stays, I said firmly. And you're going to apologize to him. Right now. In front of everyone. I will not. Then I'll tell everyone here exactly what happened in New York. Every detail. Every stolen design. Every lie. Veronica's eyes darted around the restaurant. Everyone was watching. Her perfect image was crumbling in real time. Her voice cracked. I apologize, Raymond. It was barely a whisper, but it was enough. Raymond nodded, tears in his eyes. But this time, they weren't from humiliation. I turned and walked back to my station, my legs shaking so badly I thought I might collapse. But I'd done it. I'd stood up to the monster. And she blinked first. Here's what I learned that night. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's being terrified and doing the right thing anyway. My career at Investigative Group International taught me to find the truth. But Pineapple and Pearls taught me to speak it. If your heart is racing right now, if you felt every second of that confrontation, then subscribe immediately. Comment and tell me, would you have done what I did? Or would you have stayed silent? Because what happened next? Veronica Hills wasn't done with me. Not even close. The morning after the confrontation, I woke up to 17 missed calls. My phone buzzed constantly. Texts from coworkers, messages from people I barely knew, even a friend request from a customer who'd been at the restaurant that night. Word had spread like wildfire. You're a hero, Maria texted. Everyone's talking about you. But I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like someone who'd just poked a sleeping dragon. When I arrived for my shift that evening, the atmosphere at Pineapple and Pearls had completely changed. The staff looked at me differently. Not with fear, but with something that looked like hope. That was incredible, Josh whispered as we set up our stations. I've never seen anyone stand up to her like that. Raymond pulled me aside, his eyes red. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you. Even customers who'd witnessed the confrontation made a point to request my section. One older gentleman shook my hand and said, "It's about time someone put that woman in her place." But not everyone was celebrating. The manager called me into his office before the dinner rush. He looked exhausted, conflicted. "Leah, I need you to understand something. Mrs. Hills has been calling all morning. She's demanding that I fire you." My stomach dropped. And I told her no. He rubbed his temples. But she's not going to let this go. She's already called the owner. She's threatening to never come back, to tell all her wealthy friends to avoid us, to ruin our reputation. So you're firing me? No. He looked up, and I saw something surprising in his eyes. Respect. I'm telling you to be careful. Veronica Hills has powerful connections. She's already started spreading rumors about you, saying you're unstable, that you verbally assaulted her, that you're trying to extort her. I felt cold. She's lying. I know. But she has the money and influence to make those lies stick. Several other restaurants in D.C. have already received calls warning them about you. So this was her retaliation. She couldn't control me at Pineapple and Pearls anymore, so she was trying to destroy me everywhere else. Over the next week, Veronica's campaign against me intensified. I heard through the grapevine that she'd told people I was a disgruntled former employee with a vendetta, that I'd been fired from Investigative Group International for misconduct, a complete lie, that I was dangerous and unstable. She was doing to me what she'd done to countless others, trying to make sure I'd never work in this city again. But here's what Veronica didn't understand. I had nothing left to lose. She'd already taken my career, my apartment, my sense of security. What else could she take? My integrity? My voice? Not a chance. I'd spent 3 months running from my problems, hiding from my failures. But standing up to Veronica had reminded me of something I'd forgotten. I was good at what I did. At Investigative Group International, I didn't back down from powerful people. I exposed them. And Veronica Hills was just another corrupt person who thought wealth made her untouchable. I started digging deeper. If she wanted a war, I'd give her one. But I wouldn't fight with lies and manipulation. I'd fight with the truth. I reached out to old contacts from my journalism days. I searched public records. I found Elena Rousseau's original lawsuit from 15 years ago. Every detail of Veronica's theft documented and filed in New York civil court. The more I dug, the more I found. Veronica hadn't just stolen from Elena. She'd borrowed money from investors, promising them returns on her original designs. When the scandal broke, those investors lost everything. Some of them had tried to sue her, but she'd married Ethan Hills and his lawyers had made the cases disappear. Veronica Hills wasn't just a bully. She was a fraud who destroyed lives long before she started terrorizing waitstaff. One evening, as I finished my shift, I found an envelope taped to my locker. No name, no return address. Inside was a single piece of paper with a message written in elegant handwriting. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Drop this or I'll destroy you. I stared at that note for a long moment. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my bag. Evidence. Here's what Veronica didn't realize. Threats only work on people who have something to protect. I'd already lost everything, and that made me the most dangerous person in her world. She wanted me to back down. She wanted me to disappear quietly. Too bad. I was just getting started. If you're feeling the fire, if you're ready to see this through to the end, then comment below, have you ever been threatened for doing the right thing? How did you respond? Because Veronica Hills was about to learn that some people can't be silenced. And the person who'd see the truth first? Her own husband. I was taking out the trash behind Pineapple and Pearls when I heard a voice behind me. Leah Morgan? I turned to find Ethan Hills standing in the alley, hands in his pockets, looking nothing like the billionaire tech mogul from the magazine covers. He looked tired. Human. Mr. Hills. My heart raced. If you're here to threaten me too. I'm not. He held up his hands. I need to talk to someone. And you're the only person who's ever told my wife the truth. I studied him carefully. What do you want? To understand. He ran a hand through his hair. For 12 years, I've watched Veronica be demanding, particular. I always told myself she had high standards, that she was stressed, that running in our social circles required a certain level of perfection. And now I can't stop thinking about what you said, about the people she's hurt, about who she really is. His voice cracked. I've been blind, haven't I? We sat on the loading dock, an odd pair, a billionaire and a waitress, while he told me his story. I met Veronica 15 years ago at a charity gala, Ethan began. She was beautiful, poised, sophisticated. She told me she'd left the fashion industry to pursue philanthropy. I thought she was incredible, someone who'd given up her career to make a difference. She didn't tell you the truth. No, he shook his head. I found out about Elena Rousseau yesterday. After what happened, I started digging. I hired a private investigator. The stolen designs, the lawsuits, all of it. She lied to me from the beginning. I watched his face crumble, and despite everything, I felt sorry for him. But it's more than that, he continued. Once I started really looking, I saw the pattern. The way she talks about people when we're alone. Our staff, our friends, everyone. The way she manipulates situations to make herself the victim. How she's isolated me from anyone who might question her. How long have you known something was wrong? He was quiet for a moment. Years, maybe. But I didn't want to see it. She's my wife. I loved her, or I loved who I thought she was. And admitting the truth meant admitting I'd been a fool. You're not a fool. You're human. I've enabled her. His voice was raw. Every time she got someone fired, I told myself it was their fault. Every time she made a scene, I smoothed it over with money and apologies. I've spent 12 years protecting her from the consequences of her cruelty. The weight of his guilt hung in the air between us. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because watching you stand up to her, seeing someone refuse to be afraid, it woke something in me. He met my eyes. You lost your job at Investigative Group International 3 months ago, didn't you? I tensed. How did you? I know people. And I know you were brilliant at what you did. My company could use someone with your skills. Research analyst, corporate integrity division. Better pay than you ever made before. My breath caught. Mr. Hills. Ethan. And I'm not offering this as a bribe or hush money. I'm offering it because you deserve it. And because, he paused. Because I need people around me who aren't afraid to tell the truth. People like you. I wanted to say yes. God, I wanted to say yes. But something held me back. I can't accept. Not yet. Not while Veronica is still threatening me, still trying to destroy my reputation. She won't be for much longer. His jaw tightened. I'm done protecting her. It's time she faced the consequences of who she really is. What are you going to do? What I should have done years ago. He stood, straightening his jacket. I'm going to stop being blind. He handed me a business card. When this is over, call me. The job offer stands. I watched him walk away, disappearing into the DC night. For 12 years, Ethan Hills had been Veronica's shield, her enabler, the source of her power and protection. But not anymore. Here's the truth about enablers. Sometimes they're victims too. Ethan had spent 12 years trapped in a marriage built on lies. But recognizing the truth, that's the first step toward freedom. And when someone like Ethan Hills stops protecting someone like Veronica, the whole empire starts to crumble. Have you ever realized you were enabling someone's bad behavior? What did you do? Because the confrontation that was coming, it would change everything. And Veronica Hills was about to lose the one thing she valued most. It happened 2 weeks later, on a Tuesday night when the restaurant was quieter than usual. I was wiping down tables after the dinner rush when the door burst open. Veronica Hills stood in the entrance, and for the first time since I'd met her, she looked undone. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled. Her makeup was smudged. Her hands shook. You, she pointed at me, her voice trembling with rage. You destroyed everything. The few remaining customers looked up. The staff froze. But I just set down my cloth and faced her. I didn't destroy anything, Veronica. You did that yourself. Don't you dare, she stormed toward me. Do you know what you've done? People are talking. My friends are asking questions. Someone posted about Elena Rousseau on social media. My entire life is falling apart because of you. No, I said calmly. Your life is falling apart because it was built on lies. You had no right. Tears streamed down her face, but they weren't sad tears. They were angry, desperate. You're nobody. A failed analyst working as a waitress. You're beneath me. You've always been beneath me. Is that what you tell yourself? I took a step closer. That everyone else is beneath you? Because it makes you feel less afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. You're terrified. My voice was gentle now, almost pitiful. You're terrified that people will see who you really are. Veronica Castellano, the girl who stole her mentor's designs and got caught. The fraud who had to run away and hide behind a rich man's name. Shut up. Her voice broke. You've spent 15 years punishing everyone around you because you hate yourself. Every person you fired, every life you ruined. It was all because you couldn't stand to see people who were confident in who they were. People who didn't have to lie. Veronica's legs seemed to give out. She grabbed the back of a chair for support. I worked so hard, she whispered, to build this life, to be someone, and you took it all away in one night. I didn't take anything. I just stopped pretending you were someone you're not. The door opened again. Ethan walked in, his face set with determination. Veronica, that's enough. She turned to him, hope flashing in her eyes. Ethan, tell her. Tell her she can't. No. His voice was firm. I'm done, Veronica. The color drained from her face. What? I'm done protecting you. Done making excuses. Done watching you hurt people. He took a breath. I've filed for separation. My lawyers will contact you tomorrow. You can't, we're married. You love me. I loved who I thought you were. His voice softened with sadness. But that person never existed, did she? Everything was a lie. Our entire marriage was built on a lie. Veronica looked between us, her perfect world shattering in real time. This isn't fair. I made mistakes, but I changed. I became better. You became crueler, Ethan said. You used my money and my name to terrorize people who couldn't fight back. That's not better. That's worse. She turned back to me, mascara running down her cheeks. You're happy now? You've won. This isn't about winning. And I meant it. Looking at her broken and desperate, I didn't feel victorious. I felt sad. This is about the truth finally catching up. Veronica stood there for a moment, trembling. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out of Pineapple and Pearls for the last time. The silence that followed was heavy. Ethan approached me, his eyes tired but clear. Thank you for having the courage I didn't have. What will you do now? Start over. Do better. Be better. He managed a small smile. That job offer still stands, by the way. 3 days later, the story broke. A journalist I'd worked with at Investigative Group International published an exposé on Veronica Hills, complete with court documents, interviews with Elena Russo, testimonies from people she'd hurt over the years. The fallout was swift. Her social standing evaporated overnight. The charities she'd chaired quietly removed her from their boards. The society pages that once fawned over her now published think pieces about accountability and consequences. Veronica Hills, the queen of fear, had fallen. Here's what I learned. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, inevitable. Veronica spent 15 years building an empire on fear and lies. But empires built on sand always crumble eventually. If you've been with me this whole journey, if your heart is full right now, let me know in the comment. Do you believe in second chances, or are some actions unforgivable? Because this story isn't quite over yet. There's still more. And it's about what happens after the monster falls. 6 months later, I stood in the lobby of Ethan Hills's corporate headquarters, adjusting my blazer and feeling like I'd stepped back into my own skin. Research analyst, corporate integrity division, a salary that let me rent my own apartment again, a small place in Georgetown with a window that caught the morning sun. But before I got here, I watched Veronica's world completely collapse. The weeks after the confrontation were brutal for her. The exposé went viral. People shared their own stories, not just from Pineapple and Pearls, but from country clubs, charity events, hair salons, anywhere Veronica had wielded her cruelty like a weapon. She retreated from public life entirely. No more Friday nights at Table 12. No more charity galas. No more society pages. I heard through the grapevine that she'd moved to her family's estate in Connecticut, away from D.C., away from the people who finally saw her for who she was. Some people said she was getting help, working on herself. Others said she was just hiding. I didn't know which was true. And honestly, I hoped she found peace. Not for her sake, for the sake of the person she could still choose to become. Because here's what I learned. Hurt people. And the cycle only breaks when someone decides to face the truth. At Pineapple and Pearls, everything changed. The staff walked taller, smiled more. The restaurant felt lighter, like a dark cloud had finally lifted. Raymond got promoted to head server. Maria started her own catering business. Tom came back. The manager personally called him and offered him his job back with a raise. And me. I worked there for 2 more months before accepting Ethan's job offer. On my last night, the entire staff threw me a surprise party in the back room. There were tears and hugs and a cake that said, "Thank you for your courage. You gave us our dignity back," Raymond told me, his voice thick with emotion. "You showed us we didn't have to live in fear. But I didn't do it alone. Every person who stayed silent for 10 years wasn't a coward. They were people trying to survive in a system that punished the powerless. I just happened to be in a position where I had nothing left to lose. And sometimes, that's exactly what it takes. Now, sitting at my new desk with a view of the Potomac, I think about everything that led me here. 3 months ago, I thought losing my job at Investigative Group International was the end of my story. But it was just the beginning. Because rock bottom taught me something that success never could. Your worth isn't measured by your title or your salary or your apartment. It's measured by what you do when faced with injustice. Do you look away? Or do you speak up? I chose to speak up, and it cost me sleepless nights, threats, uncertainty. But it also gave me something invaluable. The knowledge that I could stand up to power and survive. Veronica Hills spent 15 years believing that money and status made her untouchable. But power built on fear is just an illusion. The moment someone refuses to be afraid, the whole thing crumbles. Last week, I got a letter. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting from the threat I'd received months ago. Inside was a single sentence. "Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself." It wasn't signed, but I knew it was from Veronica. I don't know if she's changed. I don't know if she's truly faced what she did, or if she's just hiding from it. But that letter told me something important. Even monsters are human, and humans can change if they choose to. I folded the letter and put it in my desk drawer. Not as evidence this time, as a reminder that the truth is powerful, that courage is contagious, that one person standing up can inspire dozens more, and that sometimes the biggest fall leads to the most important rise. So here's what I want you to take from this story. You are more powerful than you think. The courage to speak truth to power exists in all of us. It's just waiting for the moment when we decide that our integrity matters more than our comfort. Maybe you're facing your own Veronica Hills right now. Maybe you're watching injustice happen and wondering if your voice matters. It does. Your voice matters. Your courage matters. You matter. If this story changed something in you, if you're ready to be brave in your own life, then subscribe and join this community. Comment below and tell me, what's one truth you need to speak? What's one stand you need to take? Because the world doesn't change when powerful people decide to be kind. It changes when everyday people decide to be courageous. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Now go out there and be the person who refuses to look away. This is Leah Morgan, reminding you that the truth always wins. Eventually. And sometimes eventually is today.